Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm here with Catherine Cooper from R C Cooper Transport. How you doing, Catherine?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. So if you could start us off and let us know a little bit more about who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it for, please, Catherine.
Of course. I'm the operations director for a family-run haulage company based in West Yorkshire. We specialise in full articulated loads both in the UK and in Europe. I've worked in the business since 2005, so that's 21 years. Um, yeah, that's pretty much my role. I've done various roles during those 21 years, but currently
Yeah.
that's my current position.
And how did you get, I mean, it might sound like a funny question, but how did you get into the family business? Was it something out of choice or is it just something you were brought up into or how did that work out?
Not quite out of choice. No, my
Yeah.
husband had started the business on his own as a sole trader. He managed on his own for quite some time until he reached a point where he needed someone to run more of his admin side rather than it just being done on a weekend, which is
Sure.
what he was originally doing. I then left what I used to call my real job, and I went to work for him. So that's how I ended up within the business. It wasn't by choice, it was by necessity more than anything.
Sure. Brilliant. And what, in terms of, I suppose in your sector, there's a question I ask about USP, but that doesn't quite fit all the time. But in terms of why customers would come to you and I suppose your values and things like that, what is it for you that stands out when it comes to running your business?
We've always prided ourselves on customer service, and that's what we set out. Richard's main aim at the very start was that he would fulfill all of his customers' requirements regardless of what cropped up. And that is what we have done for 25 years. I'd
Nice.
say our values are based around honesty, teamwork, efficiency, professionalism. Honesty, we're always honest with staff, we're always honest with customers. Even when something's gone horribly wrong, we find that it's better to be honest than to tell a white lie that ends up coming to bite you on the backside at the
Yeah.
end of the day. It's
Sure.
not
Yeah, yeah.
pleasurable. Teamwork, I think, is because we understand and appreciate. It's not just us in the office. It is a lot of our success comes from the drivers that we employ, who are the face of our business when they're out there every day.
Yeah.
Efficiency, I'd like to think we're pretty efficient. We strive for 100%. We have our scores on customers at times, and we usually achieve 100%. Professionalism, I'd like to think we're always professional. Friday afternoon, maybe not so much. Goes a bit
Yeah.
awry at times, but most of the time, yes. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a reputation we've built on customer service, and it's that's probably what people would recognise us for.
Sure.
We also recently advertised for a driver, not something we do very often, thankfully. And 50% of the applications we got were from people who had heard we were good to work for. And in our industry, that's quite an achievement, really. So
Yeah.
that's nice.
That's a really good reflection. Yeah. In terms of being an attractive place, it's kind of sometimes we help other businesses and mention it's not just about acquiring customers, it's acquiring the right people to work for you in that
Mm.
way as well. So that's a really good reflection of you guys. In terms of your business journey then, Catherine, and how that's been, if there's one or two words you could describe it, because was it 25 years you said the company as
Yeah,
a
25 years.
whole?
Yeah.
And even in the last 5 or 10 years, the amount of things that have happened
Mm.
worldwide and here in the UK, how's the business journey been on reflection to this point?
I'd say I think the two words I choose will probably be very hard.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd find many people in transport that would say it's been a
yeah,
walk in the
yeah,
park in a million years. It has been hard. 25 years of incredibly hard work. I think we started off with a very cautious approach, or certainly Richard did. He would grow things from going from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10
mhm,
very cautiously. He's probably quite risk averse in that sense, but it's probably stood him in good stead being like that over the years.
sure.
He's always sort of tested and measured whether or not there was capacity there to increase the fleet before actually doing it, rather than jumping in with 2 feet, going ahead, and then finding he's got to make somebody redundant. That would be his
Yeah,
worst nightmare. He wouldn't want to do that. So yeah, we've had lots of up and downs over the years. COVID was one of them. Everybody comes across that
Sure.
one. For us, we were fortunate. We were super busy.
Mhm.
We obviously had to speak to our lads and say, look, we don't know what's going to happen, and prepare them for the worst case. But actually, it ended up being the best case that nobody was furloughed, nobody
Mhm.
lost a day's pay, everybody was
Yeah.
super busy the entire time. So for us, over that length of time, that was a good thing
Yeah. Yeah.
for us. But we do appreciate we're incredibly fortunate for that, and not everybody was as lucky. We totally get that. Ups and downs, yeah, lots of ups and downs over the many years. I think we're fortunate Richard has quite a lot of contacts in the industry, and it's always good to have someone who he can ring up and say, look, I'm struggling with this, or I've got a
Mhm.
job to price and I'm not quite sure how to do that, or, am I pitching it wrongly here? And especially with the changes that in Europe as well, because we run
Mhm.
abroad as well, and all the changes that have happened with, regulations and paperwork and things are, you can plan for that and understand the thing. But when you physically come to sending a driver to physically go do that and the
Yeah.
customs changes and things like that, you've got to be aware. So it's good to tap into other people's knowledge and pick their brains before sending someone. So yeah, all sorts of things have happened over the years. I think it's been probably the last 10 years have probably been a bigger learning curve than the previous 15. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. Yeah.
What are the sort of challenges and opportunities that you can see at the moment? I mean, I appreciate price of fuel is an
This
interesting
week's hot
factor
topic, isn't
right
it?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was speaking to someone this morning, and whilst blimey, a lot of challenges in the transport industry, which they're in as well, there was also some opportunities that they were looking to move into in order to, keep the business going ahead.
Challenges, I would say, are probably the transition that is the hot topic of moving to electric or other
Mm.
fueled vehicles.
Yeah.
For us, the size we are, and any other probably small to medium business, the capital cost far outweighs any benefits for us.
Mhm.
The RHA recently had put a survey out and had asked their members to comment, and 84% of hauliers who are a similar size to us have no intention of changing their current make of vehicles from diesel,
Sure.
which I think 84% is a pretty high figure and
Sounds
taking into
pretty high.
account,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And there was different percentages based on the size of fleets. I think the larger fleets probably more inclined to be able
Mhm.
to do that. The bigger people would. Us, of our size up to sort of 25 trucks, have 84% have no intention of changing
Mhm.
because of the cost. That is a huge issue. And unless somebody starts to address these things, that's not going to change. We
Yeah.
offered an electric vehicle to a customer of ours to see what they thought about it, explained the cost implications of doing that, and to which they did not want to know. And I get that. I didn't think they would.
Yeah.
So that is a huge challenge, I think. And the driver shortage, I think that is another big
Mhm.
problem that is looming for our industry. I don't know how they tackle that one. I really don't. I see every day the challenges that drivers have when they're out there, the
Yeah.
difficulties they have, the lack of facilities that there is. It's such a heavy regulated industry. 1 foot wrong and they're in big trouble. And it,
Mhm.
it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. But yes, I think it's going to be a very real problem soon. Is a driver shortage, unfortunately. But then that has an impact on everything because everything moves by road. So if you don't
Yeah.
have the drivers to move it, then what's going to happen? So
Perhaps, sometimes it gets to a point where something has to happen, I guess, but
mm,
and then
yeah,
but it
precisely.
could have been foreseen and
Mm,
negotiated perhaps a bit more cleanly.
yeah,
But yeah.
I think opportunities are. I think we always look out for new things that we might be able to get involved in. We have some great customers and they know the service level they get from us. So there's always room for improvement on what we currently do and what else is out there. So we're always open to suggestions. We have quite a diverse customer base, so we can usually turn our hand to most things. So
Nice. Thank you for sharing those. So in terms of your biggest business lesson, Catherine, out of all that we've discussed, and obviously the experience that you've got, what's one thing that you could share that stands out above all else?
I think it would have probably both. Well, I've got two things that probably both come down to staff. we hear lots of horror stories in our industry of staff that aren't treated well, that drivers are treated really badly by employers, that employers expect them to do things that are not right, that are not legal necessarily. But we don't do that. We have always treated our staff incredibly well, and I think it's important to treat them well. They are the face of our business. They are the ones out there every single day. If you've got the wrong person in that driving seat, literally,
Mhm.
then it's not good for you. It doesn't matter what you do in the background. They're
Yeah,
seeing that driver go onto a premises, onto a customer's premises. They want somebody right to be
sure.
there, somebody trustworthy, somebody decent. And we've had lots of comments over the years of good staff and lots of things that they've done in difficult situations to help a customer or to help a member of the public or something. So I think we do have lots of good staff, and I think staff are a key to a successful operation, really.
Yeah, it's working together. Wouldn't be anything without each other, kind of thing, is
Yeah,
it?
exactly. It's teamwork, and again, office staff as well.
Yeah.
I put my trust in our office staff. I don't breathe down their necks. At the end of the day, they're employed to do a job for which we think they are perfectly capable to do, and they are. And I don't breathe down their necks if they're getting on and they're doing a great job. They don't need me checking up on them. I leave them to it. It is up to them to get on. If they're struggling, they can come and say, "Can't do this," or "Don't know what to do with this." Not a problem. But I certainly don't stand there over them, making sure it's been done to how I want it done. It's just
Sure.
let them get on. As long as it's done at the end of
Nice.
the day, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, good leadership in action. So in terms of, I suppose, inspiration, thinking about that uh, lessons, I guess, but what inspires you to do what you do? Is it the team as well, or anything else that comes to mind to make you want to keep
Yeah,
going to work each day?
I think the other thing, the inspiration side of things is when you see other people who are much other companies who are much bigger than us
Mhm.
making a mess of things sometimes, and you just think, oh, you've got all those staff, you've got all that equipment, you've got all that power, but yet
Yeah,
you can't do a simple job correctly, and here we are much smaller in scale than we do. And I
yeah,
always think, well, if we can continue doing that, my inspiration, I guess, is coming from the fact that we do well at what we do. We
Mhm.
do a good job. So I just to keep going and to prove that we can do it. At the
yeah,
end of the day, this was Richard's dream. This was his thing he wanted to do. I've
yeah,
just
yeah,
come along for the ride more than anything, just to bolster
yeah.
that up for him. So yeah,
It's a nice link to when we started the conversation about your kind of company values and linking back to that, that it's really an expression of Richard and yourself as to
mm,
having the company with values that fit really.
mm, yeah.
Nice. So, lastly, well, just before we kind of wrap things up, if there was something that you would like to have known when you started out, say if you look back when you're 18, and there's a piece of advice, or in hindsight, you would say, if I'd known this, or perhaps if someone was coming into the industry and starting out, what would that piece of advice be, Catherine?
Always know your numbers. I'm a
Yeah.
big numbers person. I like figures. What can't speak can't lie. So
Mhm. Yeah.
you can't. Um, you should always know why this week might not be as good as last week, why this
Mhm.
month is different to the same month last year, or why this year is different to last year. And you should be able to explain it to somebody and explain it well. And if you understand those figures and you've got a reason why something might be different, be it good or bad, that's great.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to understand it. And knowing your numbers is probably one of the most important things I would say, definitely.
Brilliant. You can't,
Yeah,
as you say, you can't argue with that piece of advice really
yeah.
either.
And just always remember, somebody told me this many years ago, turnover vanity, profit vanity, and cash is king. And
Yeah.
stick with that and you won't go far wrong.
Nice. Yeah, there's a book, I think, The Great Game of Business. Quite a big book, but it comes down to uh, there's inspiration and there's teamwork and all those things. But at the end of the day, a business is there to generate cash and to make cash,
Mm,
um, to fundamentally survive. So yeah, I think that's a good point
mm.
you make there. So lastly, then, in terms of any latest news about what you're up to, we've discussed a few things, or even if it's a case of sharing your website, if contact details, if people would like to get in touch
Yeah,
with you for any reason, feel free to do that now.
it was our 25th anniversary last year. So we've recently, slightly later than planned, had an anniversary vehicle done.
Nice.
It didn't actually go on the road, I don't think, until January of this year, which should have gone on
Mhm.
last year, but delays and these things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And it's now on the road. It's been given to one of our longest serving employees for him to
Brilliant.
drive. So he's thrilled to bits with it, obviously. Yeah, so that was quite a big thing for us.
Yeah.
And our website is rccooper.co.uk. You can have a look, and we do keep up to a little bit of social media now and again, so
Mhm.
it's always handy to look on the usual channels for that as well.
Brilliant. I will link you in and the company when we share this interview on LinkedIn and YouTube and that. Catherine, it's been a real pleasure talking with you. Thank you for sharing all the experience that you have, and I wish you all the best for the next 25 years.
Thank you very much. Thanks.